This is Eyewitness News.
Eskom and the SIU aiming to recover billions lost to state capture, and COSATU threatens to walk away from the ANC if corruption is not dealt with. Good afternoon, I'm Gladys Mutele. It's the big story this afternoon. The Special Investigating Unit and Eskom have issued summons to the Pretoria High Court to recover funds from the parastatal's former board and executive members, as well as the Gupta family and their associates. This is to recover about 3.8 billion rand that was looted from the state-owned entity under the leadership of certain executives. Calls have been mounting for those who pioneered and benefited from the state capture project to be prosecuted. The utilities' finances are in dire straits, with executives requesting multiple tariff hikes over the past 2 years in order to avoid a financial meltdown. Khomoto Modise has more.
Former Group CEO Brian Molefe, former Chief Financial Officer Anur Singh, and former Head of Generation Machela Koko are among the big names listed as defendants in the High Court matter brought by Eskom and the Special Investigating Unit. They were all linked to dodgy deals that cost Eskom billions to serve their own interests and benefit the Gupta brothers Rajesh, Atul and AJ, who've also been listed as respondents. Former Company Secretary Suzanne Daniels, former Board Chair Baldwin Ngubane, and former Mineral Resources Minister Musebenzi Zwane will also face the music. They're all accused of playing a role in engineering bogus deals with Gupta-owned Optimum Coal Mining and Trillion, which was also linked to the company. The unit says it's investigating numerous contracts at Eskom under a 2018 proclamation. Khomoto Modise, Eyewitness News.
COSATU says it will part ways with President Cyril Ramaphosa's administration should he continue to fail to clamp down on corruption. The Trade Union Federation has called Ramaphosa's leadership of the country and the ANC into doubt, saying he needs to act decisively to prove that his administration is not a powerless scarecrow with rubber teeth. Theto Mahlakwane reports.
Just as it did under former President Jacob Zuma's tenure, COSATU is threatening to withdraw support for the current presidency, which it has described as dysfunctional. The organization, which is also in alliance with the ANC, released a strongly worded statement questioning why the president has not acted against the continued looting of state resources through tender fraud, even as the country battles to contain the spread of COVID-19. Among many unfulfilled promises made to South Africans, the president said his administration would clamp down on corruption, yet there are weekly revelations of prominent ANC members who have treated the pandemic as a tender gold mine. COSATU says political weakness in the country has produced economic weaknesses, as spokesperson Cesar Pamela explains.
We want him to lead the fight against corruption, and we want to see results. We are tired of meaningless platitudes and speeches that do not take us anywhere.
The Federation further states that under Ramaphosa's leadership, the ANC has continued to be seen as a rent-seeking, unaccountable case. Theto Mahlakwana, Eyewitness News, Johannesburg.
The Energy Department has confirmed another fuel price hike is on the cards for South African motorists. From this Wednesday, both grades of petrol will go up by 5 cents per litre, while diesel will cost you 45 cents more. Illuminating paraffin will go up by 52 cents. In a statement released a short while ago, the department has cited the appreciation of the rand against the US dollar as the reason for the increase. Health Workers Union, NAHAU, says it believes that the personal protective equipment found dumped in a river in Irene could be the work of so-called tenderpreneurs. The PPE was discovered in a river which passes through Irene and Centurion. Edwin Sidi reports.
Essential personal protective equipment meant to safeguard health workers and curb the spread of COVID-19 was found floating in a river that passes between Irene and Centurion. A video showing latex gloves and face masks floating in the river prompted Gauteng's acting health MEC Jacob Mamabulo to visit the scene last night. NAHAU's Kaya Klaba.
We believe that this is part of the tenders that were issued irregularly and part of the PPEs that were produced that were of not good quality.
The matter has been referred to the relevant institutions for investigation. This follows reports of massive looting and tender irregularities. Edwin Nsidi, Eyewitness News.
And Greece has made it compulsory to wear masks on ferries sailing to its islands. The new regulation extends the requirement beyond interior spaces following a recent spike in coronavirus infections. Last week, Greece made mask wearing mandatory in all indoor public spaces and also in outdoor spaces where proper social distancing cannot be observed. The country has reported 110 new cases, its highest single-day spike in several weeks. Gold is trading at $1,968.12 an ounce. The rand's at 17.34 to the dollar, 22.56 to the pound, 20.30 to the euro. Brent crude oil is at $43.53 a barrel.
And in your traffic in North Riding, there are still delays along Malibonga Drive approaching Wetkoppen, and there is also still slow traffic along the R55 Lenasia Drive between Nirvana and Olive Avenue, and no lights in Emarentia at Beyersnodia and Judith.
And in your sport, Minister of Sport Natim Tetwa says the health department is happy with the local football season to resume this weekend. And a number of reports suggest that Percy Tau has landed in Brussels ahead of a proposed loan spell with Anderlecht.
Gauteng's fine. The temperatures have peaked at highs of between 22 and 23 degrees. The top story in Eyewitness News this hour. The Special Investigating Unit and Eskom have issued summons to the Pretoria High Court to recover funds from the parastatal's former board and executive members, as well as the Gupta family and their associates.
Eyewitness News. In touch, in tune, and independent. For the latest, download the EWN app.
Welcome to NewsHour from the BBC World Service. I'm Razia Iqbal. The capital of the Philippines is on the cusp of a second strict lockdown affecting 25 million people as a new surge of coronavirus tests the healthcare system.
They are really exhausted because of long duty hours. At the same time, there is a huge lack of health workers because 50% of our health workers right now are in a quarantine period.
We'll get the latest on COVID-19 from Iran and hear about the story of two young men who were part of the mass migration in India to get home quickly for lockdown.
The comparisons were evoked to the Great Migration after the partition of India. You had millions of people on the streets,
with devastating consequences for one of them. We'll talk TikTok and Microsoft and have an appreciation of the life of the Catholic politician, peacemaker and Nobel Prize winner from Northern Ireland, John Hume, who's died. First, the latest world news.
Hello, I'm Justine Green with the BBC News. Iran has reported its latest figures for the number of coronavirus deaths, saying altogether just over 17,400 people have now died. But this is far below the number revealed by a BBC investigation. Here's Alan Johnston.
Leaked Iranian government documents seen by the BBC Persian service show that there have been almost 42,000 deaths of patients with COVID-19 symptoms. That's around 2.5 times more than the official figures suggest. The Iranian authorities deny underreporting the number of fatalities, but there's always been a suspicion that they were downplaying the severity of the crisis, and now it seems that there has been a cover-up.
The French pharmaceutical company Sanofi is being investigated for possible manslaughter charges in connection with the deaths of 4 babies whose mothers took an anti-epilepsy drug which it manufactures. It's been found to carry a high risk of birth defects if taken by pregnant women. Sanofi is already facing charges which it denies that it supplied false information about the drug. Hugh Schofield reports from Paris.
In France, Sanofi is the object of a long-running class-action lawsuit over its marketing of valproate or Depakine, a drug which is widely prescribed around the world under different names to combat epilepsy and other forms of seizure. It's been known for many years that the drug should not be given to pregnant women because of the high risk of it causing malformations or autism. This latest development means that in addition to the original charges of providing misleading information, Sanofi could also be held responsible for the deaths of 4 babies whose mothers took Depakine.
The Northern Irish politician John Hume, who was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize in 1998 for helping secure the Good Friday Peace Agreement, has died. He was 83. Bill Clinton once described John Hume as Ireland's Martin Luther King for his efforts to end decades of sectarian violence. More from Chris Page.
Around the world, present and former political leaders have described John Hume as a peacemaker, an icon, a visionary. Tony Blair, who signed the Good Friday Agreement in 1998, said Mr Hume's contribution to the peace process was epic. The current Irish Prime Minister, Micheál Martin, hailed him as a true hero. The former Sinn Féin President, Gerry Adams, said that while others talked endlessly about peace, John Hume grasped the challenge.
Britain is introducing new tests for coronavirus that can give a result in 90 minutes. Currently, results can take up to 2 days. Several French cities have made the wearing of face masks compulsory outdoors from today as France fights a resurgence of COVID-19. The southern beach resorts of Nice and Biarritz are among those following the new rules. Last month, face masks were made compulsory in shops and indoor public places. World News from the BBC. Reports from Afghanistan say more than 300 prisoners are still at large after an attack by Islamic State militants on a prison in the eastern city of Jalalabad. A spokesman for the governor of Nangarhar province said just over 1,000 prisoners had been recaptured. The attack on the prison began on Sunday night and nearly 30 people have been killed in clashes between security forces and the IS militants. Many of the dead were civilians. The Sudanese authorities say at least 5 people have been killed and thousands of homes damaged by heavy floods over the weekend. The Interior Minister said nearly 3,500 houses were either completely or partially destroyed. Last week, heavy downpours led to a dam wall collapsing in Blue Nile State. Turkey has condemned an agreement struck between a US oil firm and Kurdish-led forces that controls northeast Syria. The Turkish Foreign Ministry said the deal would finance terrorism. The US backs the Kurdish militia forces, but the Turks regard them as being closely linked to Kurdish guerrillas who fight in Turkish territory. The oil deal was also bitterly criticised over the weekend by the Syrian government. Japanese media have broadcast footage of an underground Second World War-era military headquarters. It's the first time they've been given access to the trench built under the famous wooden Shuri Castle on the southern island of Okinawa. Emily Haller reports.
30 metres below ground and 1 kilometre long, the headquarters had been off limits due to a risk of collapse. But the TV crew was given special permission to explore the paths and rooms of the trench. They found World War II guns, helmets, and what looked like a radio device. The tunnel system was the Japanese command centre for the Battle of Okinawa in 1945. More than 200,000 people were killed in the fighting between Imperial Japanese and US forces.
Hello, I'm Razia Iqbal. Welcome to NewsHour.